say, I know how. I know this. They're dead.
So those sweeping classic era Hollywood themes that have la da 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 da. Again, this is just the same melodic material reworked. It's very similar to what we heard. It's closer to the scene with the Bandersnatch than it is to the Alice theme in its original form, but it's still derived from. And I do not think of this in any sense as a cheat or an easy way out for a composer. Oh, less work just to rework the same thematic material. No, it's actually much more difficult and more truly symphonic. Danny Elfman, you know, took a lot of grief from academics and know-it-alls in the early part of his career because he was essentially a kind of cult pop star who suddenly commanded the podium, where in previous eras it had been people like Dmitri Tiomkin and Franz Waxman and Max Steiner and these very highly educated, highly trained musicians, and Danny didn't come from that world. And so a lot of people thought he wasn't the real deal for one reason or another. But he has proved them wrong time and time again. And conceptually, he thinks like a symphonist, which is kind of what he's doing here. Now I want to play you just a mock-up of this cue so you can hear what I mean. Now, those lines principally in the woodwinds. I'll just play them right here. And then this one. Okay? It takes a while sometimes to pick these things out of a score. And I don't deny that sometimes they're controversial. But that's my take on this. Now, all of this work is to prepare us for what comes at the end. It's a little bit like the way John Paul set us up for the test flight scene. We've heard the Alice theme in fragmentary ways. We've heard it interpolated and developed and transposed and redirected in various ways. We haven't really heard the thing full tilt yet, and we won't until the end credits. And this is where it all kind of pays off. And I thought that the most fun way to do this might be like this. Now, let's go here. 45 to 80. Now here, in comparison to the beginning of the film, where it was very understated and everything was in a very soft dynamic, now it's coming into its own, and you can see that even though the strings are still going to start off at a whisper here, by the time we get to the antiphony here, it's going to command a lot more sonic real estate. And by the time the voices come in, it will dominate. Now, in Logic, based on his reduction, this is what's happening with the strings. Don't want that. Now there's a real motor going on here, particularly here, 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 here. Now notice how he makes the changes, the harmonic changes, going to the major 4 chord. We're in a minor mode, but he's using a sort of a Dorian 4 chord. The switch between that and that E chord at the bottom of the melodic lift is done very transparently. He's keeping these voices in motion with very efficient voice leading between them, and you can barely hear that there's a change in harmony because the principal thing is the motion. We just listen to the low strings here. Let's take these guys out. So, there are a lot of common tones there that are being used, and let's go back because that's the motor. And a lot of times directors, filmmakers will talk to you about, give me a nice motor. I want it to crank on all, 16 valves, going through this scene. Don't let it let up for 1 minute. That's what he's doing, but he's still got this antiphonal thing that has to happen up on top. And that is going on here. This is all vocal. And it's like a little music box or a toy that's just sort of perfectly constructed. Let's listen to it with a few more of the bells and whistles in there. Doesn't seem so hard once you start to take things apart. That's what I mean by reverse engineering. He's done all the work. Now we get to see how he did it.